Steal this drive and you'll never read the data. Let's find out how it works. You don't have to work for the CIA or MI5 to want to protect your data. That's where this comes in handy. This is the SecureData SecureDrive BT, and BT stands for Bluetooth. So this is a drive with hardware encryption on board. It has its own processor. It's not just storage, right? And it actually works via Bluetooth with an app you install on your smartphone or actually your Apple Watch or something, and through the app you unlock the drive, at which point it then becomes accessible to whatever computer you're using. Sounds complicated, doesn't it? But let me just tell you a little bit and then we'll give it some demos and I'll show you how it works. So it runs with 256-bit AES encryption, and it also is at FIPS 140-2 level 3. Now when I saw that I said, FIPS 140, what's that? So I printed out a handy guide to the FIPS security system, and basically this is a protocol of increasing levels of hardware encryption. And level 1 requires production grade equipment and externally tested algorithms. Level 2 adds requirements for physical tamper evidence, and level 3, which is the level of this, is actually adds requirements for physical tamper resistance and identity-based authentication. There must also be physical or logical separation between the interfaces by which critical security parameters, it has quotes here, enter and leave the module. Now you know, level 4 above this, level 4 is like ridiculously complicated. This makes physical security requirements more stringent, requiring the ability to be tamper active, erasing the contents of the device if it detects various forms of environmental attack. Now, if my kids want to monkey with this or plug this into a computer just to see if it works, I don't want to have all the data erased, so I don't need level 4, but level 3 is pretty sweet. So they've done a lot to this hard drive to ensure that if you lose this, someone is not going to be able to access the data, however enthusiastic they are. So let me now give you a quick little bit of a demo. So it comes with the cable, which is a USB type B on one end, which plugs into the drive, and then the other end is, unfortunately, it's a USB 3, so I had to use a small adapter to be able to get it to work with USB-C. But that's okay because, you know, it's not a huge crisis, and these little adapters are like $1. So, you know, would it be nice if they had that option as a different cable, or maybe shipped with 2 cables? Because it's a pretty premium product. They could afford 2 cables. Yeah, that'd be great. But that's not how it works. So now let me open up my Mac, and I'm going to plug in our secure hard drive. And then let me just go ahead and get the screen recording, and then I'll spin you around and talk you through what's happening here. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to just switch things around for a sec. So there's nothing on my desktop right now, and I'm going to go ahead and launch the Data Lock app on my iPhone. You can see that in the inset. And it sees the drive, it's disconnected, but it will take just a second or two to do the Bluetooth handshake. And now it sees the drive is available to unlock, but it's not actually unlocked yet. So I'm going to tap on the lock, and it uses Face ID. I've set it up that way. So it will look at my face. It will say it looks good. It will unlock the device. And now when you look on the Macintosh, it suddenly showed up, which is super cool. So now let's actually go ahead and lock it from the app, and you'll see that it vanishes from the Macintosh because the hard drive literally just vanishes from the system. So boom, gone. Now, of course, the system complains that I didn't eject properly. Of course I didn't eject properly. I just said, oh my gosh, you're not supposed to access that data. So let's go ahead and unlock it again, and it will show up again. And now we are done with the phone. Now I want to just focus on the Macintosh. So we have the hard drive, and I just added a 900 megabyte file that we're going to copy onto the drive. But first, let's go ahead and look and see what's on the drive itself. You can see there's a 610 megabyte file, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to copy that onto the desktop, and let's see how fast it does write. Now, typically with hard drives, writing is always faster than reading, so let's see how fast this goes. Okay, done. That was pretty darn fast. Can't complain about that. Now, what about going in the other direction? Writing to the hard drive is always slower, so let's see how this does. And again, we're writing something that's a little less than a gig, and it's done. That was pretty fast. So as you can see, it's a pretty speedy drive, considering in particular that it actually has its own processor going on and everything. So let's go ahead. I'm going to switch off the computer screen and come back to being on the video screen. So I think that's actually pretty cool. So, what you have is you have a pretty decently fast hard drive. It's probably not the fastest hard drive in the world because there's stuff going on in the hardware. But having said that, it is certainly quite acceptably fast, as you saw, with read and write. And the idea that I can actually remotely lock it, or that I can actually there's actually some other cool things we can do, all makes it really great. Because if someone does actually, let's go ahead and we'll unplug it without even doing anything, right? If someone just steals this from me or finds this in my backpack or something, then they're going to plug it in and it's going to do nothing. It's not going to work. And of course, if I lose my phone, I got a bit of a pickle, but the company actually has some information about how you can access the drive if you lose your keys and all sorts of stuff. So, most importantly, let's talk about the drive itself. So the drive includes its own independent processor and a separate crypto processor, and they use all sorts of glues and epoxies. So if you try to pop this thing open, you can't disassemble it and bypass the actual processors that are doing all the encryption. So that's pretty cool. It also comes preloaded with Eset Antivirus, but it's only a 1-year subscription, so I find that a little disappointing. For this premium price, I feel like you should have lifetime access. What happens is the first time you plug it in, you look at this, and there's actually software that it comes with, one of which is that antivirus protection software. You can install it on whatever computer you're using, and then it won't let you actually copy infected files onto this because you want this to be secure. That totally makes sense. So like I said, you unlock it via the mobile app, or you can do it with a wearable like the Apple Watch. There's a version of the app for your watch, and you tap it, and then the drive's unlocked. Super cool. This is really like James Bond stuff, which I like, right? So let's actually go into the app just a little bit, and let me show you that there are some interesting preferences you can set too. So let's go over to the preferences screen, and you can see that it offers you the ability to do things like step away lock, which is what's known as geofencing. And this is really cool too. So now let's say that I have this and I've unlocked it, and now I actually have to take off, right? I forget that it's unlocked and plugged into my computer, but I can set it up so that if I walk away from the drive, then it'll actually automatically lock. So that's really nice. There's also an inactivity lock. So if I forget and I leave it plugged in overnight, an hour after I haven't used it, boom, it locks itself up again. So all of those are really great protection. And then the app, like I said, you can also set it up to unlock via biometrics if you don't want to enter a code or password. Again, I find that really cool. So, I have mine set up, obviously, so I can use Face ID to unlock the app, so I can unlock the drive so I can access it. This is just really interesting. Now, there's also a feature called remote wipe, which is really nice. So if I don't know, if someone takes it and somehow they gain access, I'm not really sure when you'd use remote wipe, but if you're in that scenario, you can actually remotely wipe out all the data on the drive. So that's pretty nice too. Now, I will tell you they are spendy. But before we get to the price of this, let me go ahead and ask if you can subscribe to my channel. Really appreciate when you subscribe, and really would love to hear from you what you're using to keep your data secure. And remember, just because you have something in the cloud doesn't make it secure. Sometimes it makes it the opposite, but that's a whole separate video. It's a whole separate discussion. Now, this is the SecureData SecureDrive BT, BT for Bluetooth, and it is $269.99 for this 250 gig drive at Amazon.com. And if you think 256 gig, I want more, man. Well, they have 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, 4 terabyte and 8 terabyte sizes. Now that 8 terabyte's sweet, but it's thousands of dollars. So make sure that you really need it before you buy that encrypted hardware, secure 8 terabyte drive. Pretty nice. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to my work, so I will catch you in my next video.